Nothing takes him by surprise. He knows everything that's going on, and he's protecting us. Something with this observation of night watches, though, is notice here that it doesn't say one night watch. It puts it in the plural, right? There's 2 or 3. Notice about night watches, plural, is someone who is up all night. Someone who is awake, they just cannot sleep. There is so many anxieties and stresses and burdens weighing on them night after night after night. And we can't get any sleep because we lay awake thinking. Right? At nighttime, that's when our brain turns on, it seems like. Right? We don't want to think about these things. We just want to go to sleep. But this is when our brain turns on. And this is when all of a sudden, all our fears and all our anxieties and all our stresses become a lot bigger at night. And we're trying to sleep. Someone who knows these 3 night watches are up all night. David has a lot of stuff going on. Whether this is King Saul coming after, he's hiding out from King Saul, or whether he's hiding out from his own son, David is fearing for his life, and he's in the desert, and he doesn't know what the future is going to hold for him. He's up all night for this stuff. But we look at this a little bit closer. When that happens, what does David do? When David cannot sleep, this is something we can learn from David here. When David cannot sleep, what does he do? He remembers God when he's laying on his bed. He meditates, big word for thinks about. Thinks about all the things that God does. Meditates on God in the night watches. And we can take a lesson from this, that tonight, or tomorrow night, or the next night, that you are just finding it so incredibly hard to fall asleep because there's so many things going on in your mind, things that you're scared about. Let's turn that time into a quiet time, just between us and our Creator. The Creator of the universe, who knows us inside and out, who knows every detail about us, who knows what's best for us, who knows exactly what we're going through. And let's turn that into a quiet, personal, intimate time with our Savior. And meditate and pray. And be honest with God. Open our hearts. Not just telling Him what we think He wants to hear from us. Being completely honest with ourselves. Being completely honest with God. I don't know. I don't understand why I'm going through this. I don't understand what the purpose of this is. And I'm trying to understand. God, please give me the faith to understand. Give me the strength. Give me peace and hope. And it will come. It will come. We just need to ask Him. Open ourselves up to Him. The third discouragement that David is dealing with here, that a lot of us can identify with, is loneliness. We read here, those who seek my life to destroy it, verse 9, shall go into the lower parts of the earth. There are people after David's life. David is fearing for his life. I can't think of any more extreme aspect of loneliness than fearing for your life. Knowing that there are people out there who want to end your life, who want to kill you. I can't think of any other extreme form of loneliness. Now, there's 2 types of loneliness, though, right? And we feel both of these all the time. There's loneliness where you're around a lot of people. You're around a lot of people, but you can feel still incredibly alone. Because you don't know, you just don't feel like anyone understands you or understands what you're going through. You feel incredibly lonely. And another form of loneliness is isolation, which is either by our own instigation, we shut ourselves off from everyone, or that's just what the situation is that there's no one. There's no one to even talk to. And this is what David is going through. He is the most extreme form of isolation imaginable. There's no one around to talk to. There's only God. He's the only one there for David to talk to, and for David to work through his troubles and his issues with. Some of us are feeling isolated. Some of us are feeling lonely. We don't think there's a soul soul on earth that understands what we're going through, who knows what's happened in our pasts, who knows what our fears are, who knows what our struggles are. Because we've hidden it. We don't want anyone to know about them. Or it's just that's what the situation is. And we feel incredibly lonely. And we know that David has gone through this. And we know that when David is feeling this is when he turns to God. And he pours his heart out to him. Because God, even when no one else understands us or is around for us to talk to, or know what we're going through, or know who we really are, there is always one person who is and who does know. And that's God. Knows us intimately, knows all of our struggles, knows our depression, knows our discouragement, knows our loneliness. And we can take rest and peace in that fact. That's what David does. And so David realizes, we're going through, we're like, oh, Pastor Justin, now you have me in quicksand of depression now. You painted this dark picture. I know what I'm going through. You don't need to keep bashing me over the head with it. But see, David realizes one key, simple, yet profound fact that not only gets him through this situation that he's dealing with right now, but gets him through the rest of his life. And it's one key, simple, yet profound truth that we need to know and internalize. So we can not only get through what we're going through now, but for the rest of our lives. And this is it. David writes it right plainly, clear as day, verse 3. Let's read it. Because your loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise you. The truth. You can't experience God when everything is good, when everything is perfect, when you're not wanting for anything. It's simple. I'm good, God. And you lose sight of Him. You don't rely on Him. You're in your cushy comfort life, and that He doesn't go beyond the superficial. And you don't experience God. You experience God when you experience His goodness and His peace and His hope in the midst of our troubles, not in spite of them, in the midst of them. This is what David realizes, that God gives us troubles. God allows things to happen to us so we can experience His goodness. A goodness, a peace, a mercy, a love that we would not experience if we don't go through these different situations. A level of intimacy with God that is not attainable unless we're going through what we're going through. And God allows us to go through these different situations so He can grow us, so He can bring us closer to Him, so we can experience a level of His power and His glory that we would not experience otherwise. Here's a bizarre prayer. Just think about it. That goes absolutely opposite of our natural human instincts. Dear Lord, please give me more troubles so I can experience You more. Right? That is an incredibly bizarre prayer. But that's what embodies this truth here. God is God. God will always be God. God has always been God. God is God, and God always will be God. The great, awesome, supreme being of the universe. Nothing takes Him by surprise. He's always watching over us. And He allows different things to happen to us, to shake us up, to bring us closer to Him, to realize our need for Him. If everything's going all perfect and all cushy and all comfortably, do we necessarily realize our need for God? And realize that He is our source of life, our source of hope, our source of peace? No. We look for it in all the other places. In cars and money and what we can buy, new cell phones, TVs. But when we're going through raw trouble, that's when we experience God. The supernatural. That's when we experience it.